look worse if you don't give us an explanation. Do you understand that part of it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just, I don't have an explanation to give you.
You do. You just don't want to give it to us.
We need to find her. We need to bring her home.
Everything I've tried to do is done.
We really need to get her and bring her home. Whatever's left of her, Stephen.
This man is Stephen Williams. The police think he's withholding information about his missing 33-year-old ex-wife Tricia Todd, who was last seen alive in a public supermarket in Hobe Sound, Florida, after the single mother left Stephen's company, never to return. What followed was a weeks-long investigation involving multiple suspects, all culminating in detectives uncovering one of the most horrific crime scenes they'd ever seen. On a bright Wednesday morning, a panicked call reaches the Martin County Sheriff's Office. Jonathan Todd reports his sister Tricia missing, setting off an investigation that would reveal unthinkable horrors. According to him, Tricia never arrived to pick up her 2-year-old daughter Faith from her babysitter Denise. He informed the police that he was rushing over to her house to check on her, but when he arrived, he couldn't find any trace of Tricia having slept there the night before. The groceries she'd bought the previous day were still on the kitchen counter. Investigation of her cell phone records revealed that she had gone to meet her ex-husband Stephen Isaiah Williams the night of her disappearance, who was staying in an Airbnb a few miles from Tricia's home. This turns Stephen into suspect number 1 for Tricia's mysterious disappearance. Her brother directed his suspicions at Stephen as well.
Stephen's the only one that has any explanation at all for that time frame that she went missing or what was going on. And then also he's the only one that had contact with her during that time frame.
When detectives called him in for an interview, he was surprisingly cooperative and told everything about Tricia's visit when she dropped off their visibly unwell 2-year-old in his care.
And Trish stays for a few minutes. Faith fell asleep on the way back home, which sucked because she had a nap. But she was wide awake. Trish was like, well, you got her. She seems fine. I'm going to go home, but if you need anything, let me know. And I was like, all right. So she leaves, and I'm just sitting here like, please go to sleep soon because I'm tired. At first, she was kind of okay, but then she started looking around. She's like, where's Mommy? And I'm like, well, Mommy went back to her house. Like, but I want Mommy here. And I was like, well, you'll see Mommy tomorrow, like, no big deal. Super fussy and just, I'm tired. And I'm like, if you seeing your mom's going to make you feel better, then all for it. Who am I? What kind of father's going to deny his daughter to see his own mother, right? So I text her, I know it's late, but, if you're up kind of thing, like, would you mind, like, coming and calming her or whatever? And then, she just texts back, like, on my way. Awesome. So she says goodbye, she comes over.
According to Stephen, Tricia only stayed at his place for a short while and then left. He kept trying to contact Tricia the next day, but she did not respond.
Did Trish ever call that morning or text asking how she was feeling?
No.
Okay.
And I messaged her that day. I messaged her thank you, when she said she's on her way. And then I messaged her again that morning. And then I didn't get a response, but I didn't really expect a response. So just letting you know, like, hey, this is what we're going to do today. So you're in the know. And so let me know what you want to do, like, where you're going to be or how you want to do this. And, still no response. So after waiting a while, I was just like, you know what, I don't want to stay here all day. I don't want to drive all at night. Like, I don't like driving at night. So I was like, you know what, I'll just take her to Denise. That's where I picked her up from anyway, and that's who normally watches her. I'll see if Denise can, take her. So I called Denise and say, hey, do you mind if I, bring Faith to you? I don't mean to be inconvenient or rude or whatever, or just, dump this in your lap. She's like, oh, no, it's no problem. Yeah, you're more than welcome to bring her by. So I was like, great.
He also mentioned going to a Walmart with his daughter before dropping her off at the babysitter, which checked out as officers later found surveillance footage of him at the Walmart. At this point, detectives had no choice but to believe Stephen's recounting of the events, leaving them with 0 leads on Tricia's whereabouts. Further investigation of Tricia's belongings and conversations with her family finally unearthed another side of her life that could help police locate her.
Last couple questions about all this. There was some ventriloquist or something? That's Brent?
Yes.
What do you know about him?
He's someone that she has said that she's very infatuated with. They never even had a conversation. It's just someone that she's stalking on Facebook. So that was going to be the man that she pursued once the divorce was finalized, which happened a few months ago.
She was madly in love with this ventriloquist named Brent, and even wrote about him in her online journal, stating, "This painful love affair. It's a Pisces and Scorpio thing. Are you happy? I've never had a deep blue love affair with a true Scorpio that didn't feel this way." Tricia's friends also revealed that she was planning to confess her love at his upcoming performance. So the detectives went to the event in hopes of finding her there, but she was nowhere to be seen. In the meantime, police and a number of volunteers were spending day and night searching for her in the area between her home and Stephen's rental. With no other lead, detectives turned their focus back on Stephen and scheduled a second interview to catch any cracks in his story. He was still answering every question quite confidently, but there was one thing that raised a red flag.
Hey, Steven, we brought up our polygrapher, or polygraph guy. Will you be willing to take one for us today?
I actually don't. I'll let them search my home, my car, whatever.
Okay. So you won't take one then?
I don't like the idea of polygraphs.
Why?
They scare the hell out of me.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So that's enough?
No, it just terrifies me. I'm sorry.
All right, let them know. Okay?
I guess that investigator just came out. He said you had some fears about the polygraph.
It really, this whole thing is already really
Stressful. I feel like if there's a chance today that we can kind of clear you up through the polygraph, then I wanted you to know that opportunity existed, you know.
And it's not that I don't want to be cleared. Believe me, nothing would make me happier than to just move past this. I would like to be cleared so they can see, look, the police have done everything. I've worked with them in every way, but the polygraph that scares me because I'm just more worried about, I know it's all yes or no, but I'm just more worried about that, making me more suspicious because, he said no to this, but according to this, that's not the truth. I'm ridiculously nervous. My heart is racing right now.
All that's okay, though. I mean, the polygraph takes all that into account. It's going to consider however you're feeling is your constant, physiologically speaking. So it's not going to matter one way or another.
Sorry, I can feel myself shaking. I really don't want to. I'm sorry.
His absolute refusal to take a polygraph test was suspicious to say the least. It was also the only thing that seemed to breach through his calm and collected demeanor. And while the detectives were getting nowhere with Stephen, they caught wind of another potential suspect, a local pastor named Douglas Purchase, who had met Tricia many times in the past. He'd also been seen in the same general area where Tricia went missing.
When was the last time you were out at the beach you were looking for her?
I have not gone back down there since.
On the night she went missing, you were down at the beach, about 1:30 in the morning.
That was the night she was missing?
What were you doing down there?
I was having my devotions, and I got out of the car, and I was going to walk down the beach for a while, and there was a turtle laying eggs, and so all my concentration, everything was on the turtle.
Right.
I didn't know, what was going on.
Right.
I didn't even know that was the night she came up missing.
However, despite officers pressing him, he stayed adamant that he did not meet Tricia on the night of her disappearance. But he did end up mentioning Tricia's heated encounter with a mysterious officer named Nick.
You had contact with her. What I've got to do, if there's any probability here that during the course of you meeting with her, you have got to talk about that. If it was a situation where maybe she became violent, because it appears that these women are really coming at you and you're more or less defending yourself. And if it was a situation with Trish where she became emotionally unstable or got out of control and she's coming at you and you push her down, she falls, hits her head, goes unconscious, all you want to do is, look, that's a young woman. I'm extracting myself from this situation.
I will tell you this much. With the officer Nick, I don't remember his last name. When she was told to leave the beach at an early part of the morning, he told me to leave that beach to it. I don't think it was the same day, but he had told me that this area is not open at this time of the morning. That third time that she met me, she started telling me about Nick chasing her off from the North Beach.
Okay.
And she's about ready to slap him upside the head with my Bible. You don't slap people upside the head with a Bible.
Right.
But anyways, I told her, I said, Tricia, I'm having my devotions. I need to be by myself. I can't talk to her. And that was the end of it.
Did she elaborate as to her relationship with Nick?
But she told me that it was her friend at one time. Mm-hmm. That's all I know.
Let me ask you a very poignant question. You understand what DNA is, right? What is DNA? It can come in the form of hair, skin cells, saliva, any type of other fluids that we have emitting from our body. Mm-hmm. Is there any reason when her body is discovered that your DNA would be?
Absolutely not.
And do you feel that there's nothing else that Doug needs to share with Doug before Doug takes the computerized polygraph test?
No.
The police were never able to find any connections between Nick and Tricia's sudden disappearance. But their investigation did reveal that Douglas was telling the truth about not seeing Tricia that night. And once again, they were left with zero leads for what might have happened with Tricia. So they set their sights on the next potential suspect, Stephen's current girlfriend, Laura. She was immediately brought in for an interview, with the detectives hoping to uncover any malice or resentment towards her boyfriend's ex. Laura not only denied any involvement.
I was not there. I have nothing to do with this, and I only came down here to help clear Stephen's name. And now I feel kind of like a suspect, and I'm done with this right now.
But also defended Stephen on the fact that he enjoyed being a part-time dad and doesn't want to take care of Faith at all times, so he wouldn't do anything to her mother.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I mean, honestly, he enjoys being a part-time dad.
Right.
Why would he get rid of his ex when now he has to take care of her full-time? That just doesn't make sense.
At this point, detectives were quickly exhausting their list of potential suspects, and they were no closer to solving this mystery as they were on day one. But just as all hope was beginning to fade, their second interview with Tricia's siblings ended up providing a breakthrough that became the turning point for this case.
She did tell me that she describes Stephen as a narcissist.
This is what Tricia said?
Yes.
Did she give an example of why, or?
She did a lot of research on narcissism. She explained how narcissists, they make you feel terrible about yourself, make themselves feel better.
Right.
Just different things that, like, he would constantly go beat on her, and especially very abusive with verbal, which very verbally abusive to her. And just constantly putting her down.
She did mention one time she was at work and she came home unexpectedly. This was in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He was watching her, so when she got there, he had left. So the baby was there and the crib was just crying.
He just left her alone?
Yeah.
According to them, Tricia had shared many stories of Stephen being extremely abusive towards her over the course of their marriage. And as the interview went deeper, the information took a darker turn.
Has there been any history of violence or anything between them?
We've been made aware of violence against my sister's small dogs that she would like to get.
Let him drink bleach. He would lock him in the bathroom and let him drink bleach. She strangled a couple. All that kind of stuff.
Stephen did?
Stephen did.
He killed their dogs?
The dogs.
How many dogs did he kill?
I think there was
at least 4.
I think a good number of them. I think a couple Shih Tzus.
How long ago did they get divorced?
They've been separated for almost a year, and they just got a divorce in February.
Was he calling her, making any kind of threats or anything like that you're aware of?
The only kind of threats that I remember her talking about was just, well, if you don't agree, I'm going to get my lawyer, and we're going to,
Like custody type stuff? Nothing physical.
If we don't agree about the financials, then I'm going to use leverage with the child.
Right.
I'm going to make things happen that you won't like if I don't get my way with the financials part. Because
she was trying to be in his favor, all the time, because she didn't want him to, do anything crazy.
If this were true, that would put Stephen back as the #1 suspect in Tricia's disappearance. But instead of dragging him in for a third round of questioning, detectives wanted solid proof. They started digging around his rental property, and that's when they stumbled onto their next big break in the case. One of Stephen's next-door neighbors actually confirmed seeing him driving Tricia's white Dodge Neon out of their community the night before.
Did he see who was driving the car when it showed up at midnight?
One person, it's a guy.
One person, a guy?
Yes, one male.
Okay. How sure is he that it was a man driving the white car?
Yes, I'm sure. I sit down and drink my beer every night.
Okay.
Later, Stephen also came up to them and asked if they had a spare gas can, which they didn't.
Do you have any contact with him while he was here? What happened with that?
He came over here and he asked me if I have a gas can. And then he came to ask me and my friend. He was sitting here drinking here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came over to ask him first about the gas can, and he didn't understand English. So he came inside and asked me to speak with him.
Okay.
So I spoke with him and he asked me about a gas can. I said I didn't have it. He said his friend, woman, I don't know, maybe her, he said ran out of gas somewhere, something like that, and he needs the gas can.
Immediately afterwards, Stephen got back in Tricia's car and drove away around 12:10 a.m.
From what I understand, the white car showed up around midnight, being driven by a man, and then Tenapon is saying that he saw the man drive around for a while in the car before he asked for a gas can. Is that correct?
Yes, right.
Okay, so then what I want to know is how long was the car there before he left in the car?
He's walking in and out of the car. I think it's probably about 5 minutes.
Okay. So almost immediately after the car shows up, he is leaving. Is he sure that the person who was driving the car is the same person who came and asked for the gas can?
Yes, the same person.
Same person.
Which was odd considering Stephen's previous statement that the only time he left the house was after his chat with the neighbors, and that he drove his own car up to the gas station.
So I'm just kind of like standing there next door. I heard a phone, like a text message thing. I was like, oh crap, somebody's home and they're awake. They're outside even. So I walk around and there's a guy sitting outside, an Asian guy. And I ask him like, hey, do you have a gas can? He doesn't speak English. I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, one moment, and he calls somebody who was inside. I don't know who she was. And she comes out, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, sitting next door. My friend, she's out of gas, and I don't have a gas can. Do you have a gas can I can borrow? She's like, oh, no, we don't have a gas can. I'm like, well, crap, there goes that plan. So I'm like, well, you can stay the night, although we're divorced. I don't want you to stay the night. Like, I just, no. She mentioned there's a gas station up the street, and I was like, you know what, gas stations, gas cans, like, you got any money, I'll just drive my car, I'll go get you a gas can and some gas, no big deal. So she gives me a 20, I leave, the gas station's maybe a half mile down the road.
Why don't you just let her take your car?
Okay. We have to, we're divorced, it's my car, I'll drive my car.
But there was something else he had said that rubbed the detectives the wrong way.
Did you have any other contact with him while he was here?
He just told me that he was smoking.
Oh, okay.
But I know that house because my friend that used to live here, she said she know her and the husband and wife. That's what she told me when we moved in here. And I was thinking maybe they moved out and these people moved in.
Well, actually, I think they rent out the house sometimes when they're out of town. They'll rent it for a few days or a week. Did he say he moved in there? Or?
Yeah, he said he moved in.
Okay.
Why would he lie about having moved in to the neighbor when he was just renting the property? Sure, it was a small lie, but the detectives had known him to be pretty honest and forthcoming up to this point. Stephen once again became the prime suspect for the police, and they started looking more closely into his movements that night. They managed to uncover some key CCTV footage confirming Stephen driving Trisha's car to her house at around 4 a.m. and then walking back in the direction of his rental. This in itself wasn't enough evidence to get a conviction, but it was enough to prove that Stephen had lied again about sending her home that night.
Sweet, get the gas can, pay for it, get 2 gallons of gas, and tell her, good night, basically. I'll contact you tomorrow, or you can call me or whatever. That's it.
So the detectives called him back in for a third time, this time with all the evidence stacked against him. Stephen started out with the same confidence he'd shown in his last 2 interrogations, sticking firmly to his version of events almost as if he'd memorized them, even squeezing in the occasional laugh.
I had to go get gas. I don't even know what time it was when I went.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was late. I just knew it was like, this is one more nonsense thing of you that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated.
Look, I got it. I've been that state of gas.
It's just like, this is so typical of you, and I'm just frustrated because in the 11 years you've been married, I've told you about this.
Not only do you run out of gas, you run out of gas at 2 o'clock.
I text you, you don't think about it. Maybe you're planning to get gas in the morning. I'm sure there was gas stations nearby.
But this time, detectives knew he was lying, and they weren't going to let him get away with it. They tore Stephen's story apart, piece by piece, pointing out that Trisha's car had been spotted driving in and out of his gated community well before he claimed he went looking for the gas can.
You said you heard it sputtering?
She came to the door.
She came to the door, okay. And where was her car when you guys met at the door?
Still behind my car.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. And that car did not move before you went to go get gas?
Not that I'm aware of.
She was there at your house, right?
Right, and I moved her car out of the way to get my car out, but that's it. And as far as I know, like I said, she was just there at the house because I'm not gonna leave my daughter by herself. So, as far as I know, I don't think she moved it or did anything. But no.
Any reason why her car left the community and came back?
Not that I know of.
Because that car left the house and came back, so we're trying to understand that part. We're thinking something else happened, and I'm thinking maybe you forgot to tell us something.
And that he'd been seen getting in her car by the neighbors.
What we're trying to understand and what we literally got on a damn plane for this morning to come back and ask you was, I'm trying to understand why that car left and came back.
No, I don't know.
And why that neighbor saw you get in her car and leave.
Like I said, I left in my car to get her gas.
Despite catching him in a blatant lie, the detectives stayed soft, almost friendly. They acted like his pals, cracking jokes and reassuring him he wasn't in serious trouble.
But I know that between midnight after she got there and 142 when you went over and you asked the man for gas, something happened to her. And like I said, we've been studying the past incidents with you. Like, you straight up don't seem like a violent person. At all. You seem like the most chill, most, you know, and I can see why Laura wants to stay with you, you know what I mean? You have your together. You know, did she, you know what, I almost think like, you know, just reading her stuff, and she was just absolutely obsessed with you. Absolutely. And I can totally understand, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got your together, you're a good looking guy, and she was just absolutely obsessed with you, even after.
They even joked about how crazy Trisha was to stoke Steven's ego and fuel his victim complex, that he was the victim in all of this.
If that's what happened, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Listen, there's a whole, when it comes to self-defense, and you know, Florida's huge on the whole self-defense thing right now. We're just trying to find closure to this. You know, do I think she came after you and something happened? Yeah, because she couldn't get that rise out of you that she wanted.
But when that buddy-buddy routine didn't work, they turned up the heat. Piece by piece, they laid out the evidence, cutting through his lies.
You recognize this area here?
Entrance to the community, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
Right? One way in, one way out. Have you ever driven up close enough so we can see the cameras? So we see her pulling in, 12:08.
At the time you said she came over.
Perfect. You texted her, she comes over. Yeah. She comes in. 1:20, there goes her car, coming out. All right? A couple minutes later, that same car, okay, that car, her car, makes the U-turn right here, okay?
And back.
And comes back. We see the car coming back in here. So literally went towards her house, came back. He saw you leaving that car before that. Didn't hear the car sputter. He never heard that car sputter once. But yet you can hear it in the kitchen, and he's only a few feet away. He didn't hear that car sputter.
I heard it, she came back. And that's why I even went looking for a gas can.
He never saw her.
Well, he had to, because outside, because she came over.
No, he got home after she came, around midnight. But he never saw a female. He said it was you, because you remember you coming over and asking for gas. He said he saw you going back and forth.
Yeah,
and when you didn't hear him until about 1:40, when you went to ask for the gas can. But he'd been sitting outside the whole time. So what happened?
Nothing happened.
Something happened in that house. There's just way too many things going on there. You leaving with her car, that car making a U-turn in front of her house, phone going off, goes back home, back to your house, go out and get gas, and then that car leaves again, and then here you are walking back into Point Siena.
While also trying to appeal to the father in him by talking about his daughter.
I could tell you, with your upbringing and being military, you've got that regimen, how you want your daughter raised, and you want the best for her.
Well, every father does.
Sure. So I'm telling you, she needs a parent. She needs that stability. But right now, all we have is what the witness is saying and all the surveillance videos.
Their goal was to get him in an emotional state where he'd finally give in and reveal all his secrets.
You're not helping me to help you, okay?
No,
as far as a self-defense theory, or she came after you, or she just is doing. I don't know, but I do know that her car left your house with you at 1:20. I do know that. How are you going to explain that when you tell me that you didn't leave until you got gas? I got you at gas with your car. But I also have you in her car at 1:20, leaving. And there's more. There's more.
We're just feeding you a little bit at a time. We're trying to give you the opportunity to tell us, but we're just giving you a little bit at a time. We didn't come all the way this way just to tell you that. Obviously, we have a lot more footage. Okay? So we're just trying to... I'm all ears. I'm all ears. You were talking all fine before?
No, I just don't. I don't know.
And it worked wonderfully. Unable to take the pressure anymore, Stephen finally broke.
The car doesn't have any gas, and I don't even know if you can make it back to your home with the little gas that's in there. And then
Makes sense.
I look around the house, because like, if there's a gas can, then I can just go get you gas. Not a big deal. I hear the neighbors outside, so I go ask him, and he doesn't have any gas. So I'm like, well, if you have any money, I can get you a gas can. She gives me the 20, I go get her gas.
Okay.
But the pill thing makes more sense now, because when I came back, she was lying on the floor, and she wasn't very responsive. And I kind of freaked out, because I'm like, oh my God, now she's lying on the floor, she's not responsive, and this looks really bad. Because I can't explain this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a game she's playing. I don't know if it's a weird trick.
Attention seeker.
And she's not responding. She's breathing, but she's not responding.
Okay.
So I just put her in the car, I put the gas in, I leave, and I'm still freaking out because I don't know what to do. And I'm just driving and thinking and driving and thinking, and then I decide I'm just gonna leave her at her house. I know you live over here. I'm just gonna leave you. I'm leaving. I don't want any part of this. And so I go home. I walk. I'm walking home. I'm not dealing with this. Like, this is not my problem. I didn't do anything. I just don't want this.
Steven, where did you go with her before you dropped her off at home?
I just drove.
Steven, you drove out of there at 2:11, and I got you walking out at 4:41.
I drove.
Did you just freak out and put her somewhere to
No,
make it look like
I left her
look,
there.
Look, you and I know.
In my mind, I was like, if she wakes up, she'll come to,
Steven,
and
I
she's
know you
home.
didn't drop her off there.
But his new story of him just stumbling into Trisha's unresponsive body, dropping it back at her home, and her somehow disappearing on her own after that was a bit too convenient for Steven. However, detectives knew that if they could get a hold of Trisha's body, they could determine her cause of death through an autopsy. So they switched up their approach and began pressing him to reveal where he'd hidden Trisha's body.
I don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, like, sure, just call 911. You can explain it. But then I can't explain it if I call 911 because I don't know what to do.
Okay, so then just tell me, you said, oh, I gotta get her out of this car.
I left her in her car because I left her.
You did
and
not.
I'm thinking,
Steven,
like, hey, you wake up, you're home.
You've been doing good. You've been doing good. I believe you.
But that's what I did. And that's why when you're telling me to, like, point on the map, I can't tell you where she is. I don't know where she is.
Did you leave her somewhere, hoping she'd wake up?
No, I took her home because I'm like, if you wake up and you're home, you're fine.
You did not take her home. Where did you take her?
I didn't take her anywhere.
Still, Steven was not flinching from this new story. That is, until the detectives dropped another bombshell, a critical piece of evidence they found from examining Trisha's car.
Getting with, and all I'm thinking is, at this point, once I wrap my head around the fact she's trying to send me to prison, I just said, forget you, I'm leaving you home.
There's dirt and vegetation under her car. The cadaver dogs hit on the car.
I know, but
she passed away in that car.
I didn't.
I know you didn't kill her. I know you didn't kill her. I know you didn't kill her. Okay? This is her fault. Okay? I know you didn't kill her. I'm telling you, there's dirt and there's vegetation underneath her car.
And I can't.
Went with her because you were freaking out.
I just drove to drive to think because of.
Okay.
So I was trying to piece it together, and
she passed away in that car. She was dead in that car. Can you agree with me on that? She was dead in that car.
The last time I checked on her, she was still breathing.
But when you checked on her again, she was dead.
No, she was fine. She was just
been jumping,
but she was breathing.
I know, but she was dying, and you were freaking out because you're like, oh, this is gonna come back on me.
From what they could guess, Steven had buried Trisha's body somewhere out in the countryside after she supposedly OD'd.
Steven, she's still the mother of your child.
I know.
I think you gave her a proper burial.
I didn't.
Steven.
If I could show
I think you can.
would. I don't know where the woman is.
I think you can. I know you can. You've come so far, Steven.
I don't know where she is.
You've come so far.
But the truth would turn out to be much worse than anyone could have imagined. At this point, after noticing how much evidence was mounting against him, Steven finally gave in, admitting that Trisha had died in the car but still refusing to tell detectives where he had left her body.
And then what did you do?
Check her pulse, feel her breathing. I tried to check her pupils. They didn't do anything with the light. They just stayed.
Did you use the flashlight that was in her car, right?
Her pupils didn't do anything, and the light grade, she's really unresponsive. Her pupils aren't even doing the thing they're supposed to do.
Did you burn anything?
I didn't burn. No, there was nothing to burn. I looked in her trunk, and there's nothing in there anyway. It was just a bunch of junk. And I was like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know what to do with this stupid gas can. I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. You're just lying there, and you're breathing shallow, and I don't know. I can't call.
Steven?
I don't know where the hell I even am.
We had already determined that she had passed while she was in the car. You can't go backwards now and tell me she was shallow breathing.
Shallow. It was really shallow.
And while he was panicking after realizing that detectives were closing in on the truth, he did not stop trying to paint himself as a victim.
But I already know it doesn't matter what I do or what I say from here.
It does matter.
It doesn't matter.
I need you to show the judge that you have a heart.
I still loved her. I still cared about her.
Sure.
But I just don't know. Like, all I thought was this is some plot to put me in prison. For some reason, beyond my belief, you're just trying to screw with me again, and I don't know why. Like, you seemed happy. You seemed like you moved on. You seemed like you were good to go with life and everything. You know, you had your love interest that you were pursuing, as far as I knew. I was happy too. I have my own. I'm done. I'm moved on, and
maybe he was hoping that the investigators would let him off the hook out of pity. In the end, they somehow managed to convince Steven to make the trip with them to Hobe Sound, Florida, and help them find Trisha's body.
I really need to get her and bring her home, whatever's left of her, Steven.
I don't know where she is.
Are you willing to take a drive with us and show us around where?
I don't know where.
But are you willing to
I'll go with
try?
you, but I have no idea where.
You will go with me?
Sure, I'll go wherever you want me to go, but I have no idea where.
They started their journey from Stephen's rental, trying to piece together the events that took place along the way.
I remember I told you the videos we had. I know you told me you were freaking out. You gotta make this right, Stephen, okay? Just do your best to remember the area that you took her to. We had discussed her already passing away by this point. Remember you mentioned to me you looked in her eyes with the flashlight that she had in the trunk? And you didn't get a reaction, but she was peaceful looking, right?
But even they could see after a while that Stephen was just making them go around in circles.
How about 95? You can't miss 95. Did it look like a sugarcane field that you were in? Were there houses?
So dark.
Right. But if there are houses, you might see.
Did you pull off to the right or to the left?
I pulled off to the right and I just stopped. And I still didn't know what to do.
And soon enough, he stopped cooperating entirely, acting as if he was overwhelmed with emotion. By this point, the detectives were convinced that he was Trisha's killer, so they got him back into the interrogation room with one clear goal: getting Stephen to confess. And this time, they were going to make sure Stephen didn't have any time to think of another lie.
I go back inside, and I grab my bag, and I grab water, because I'm thinking if she comes back...
Hold on, what bag? What bag?
It's an old backpack. I just grabbed it because it's a bag. I thought backpack. I just grabbed it.
I gotta say, you know how we talked about the laptop thing, it was stupid? Mm-hmm. Why do you need a backpack to drive? What was your plan when you put her in the car? Where were you gonna take her?
I originally was just gonna take her home. I just figured if this was like a roofie trick and she wakes up at home, then clearly I didn't do anything.
And so to accomplish that task, you equip yourself with a backpack.
I just grabbed it and water.
Remember, we're trying to be logical here.
I understand.
None of this makes any sense, okay? And one of your arguments is, it doesn't make any sense. You're like making my argument for me. It doesn't make sense. And when something doesn't make sense, it's generally not the truth. And you went through the effort of packing this backpack, and then you got down here to Florida, and just coincidentally, after your wife dies, and you dump her on the side of the road, your ex-wife, you decide you're gonna throw away clothes. You see how ridiculous that is?
But it's probably just other...
Right. Some of the clothes and the shoes that you wore during this incident involving your ex-wife were some of the things you threw away, right?
The next day, yes.
Do you think they'd like to have that stuff?
Sure.
I'd like to see the shoes. I'd like to see what pants you were wearing. I'd like to see if there's any blood or any hair or any fiber or any dirt or plant matter on those things.
However, this new tactic had one major flaw. They could see Stephen getting frustrated and stressed. If they continued pushing hard, he could stop cooperating and ask for his lawyer, bringing the interrogation to a screeching halt. So they took a step back and decided to send in a fresh face, one that could sympathize with Stephen once again.
Hey, Stephen, how you doing? Good. You remember talking to me earlier? Yes. I'm Dan. Listen, you want some water or anything? You doing all right? Yeah, you doing all right? Just water. You want some water? Yes, please. All right. Let me get you something. I'll be right back. Thank you.
The new detective quickly tried to connect with Stephen emotionally. He was aware of Stephen's need to play the victim, so he stroked his ego by praising him as a good person at heart.
I think you're a good guy. You're a family man. You're trying to do the best that you can. Okay. You got a career. Okay. You provide. You're a good guy. I mean, especially, there's a lot of people that they don't even try. They abandon their kids. They don't get a job. They're out drinking, doing drugs, all kinds of. But you're not that guy.
Just do the right thing and be a good person and try to be a good father from a distance, I guess.
And you did, and you were doing a good job. Okay. I know you didn't, but you've got to clear this off. I can see this is not something you can carry around. It's not something you can weigh you down for the rest of your life.
It's so many times you just say Drew talk to a counselor. I don't even know what I would tell them. I don't even know how to tell them.
I don't know, and it's impossible for somebody who's outside to understand sometimes. But you've got to let us know the truth about what happened, so that you can move past this for yourself. You got to get this weight off of your shoulders, because it's going to destroy you, and you can't let that happen to yourself.
And just like that, the moment detectives had been waiting for finally arrived. After weeks of investigation, Stephen finally cracked and came out with the truth.
just get out. Like, I don't know what you want from me, Trisha. I don't have any money for you. I don't have any cash for you. I can't give you anything right now. I spent the little money I had, which is why I drove here. Why I didn't get a rental car like I normally do. I'm not in a hotel. I don't have money. Like, I just paid so much money to the debt, but I don't have any more money. Okay, I just don't. I am like pretty much strapped when it comes to cash. Living paycheck to paycheck, and even then, I'm not making it right now. And it just doesn't matter. You owe me money. You need to pay your debts. This is always your fault. You're always spending more money, and it's just on and on and on to the point where now I'm just trying to like walk away. Now I can't walk away because you're circling me and like, you're jumping in front of my face, and it just got so aggressive, and I'm just trying to back away and de-escalate, and I can't even leave the house now. You know, I don't want to push you. I don't want to touch you. I don't want anything with you because I'm just thinking about flashbacks of before when you just blew all this up for no reason. I go to push her away, and then she gets really pissed about that, and then she gets even more aggressive and in my face and pushing me back, and I'm like, would you please just stop? Like, I don't want this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you're so mad. I don't know if you took a freaking crazy pill all the way over here, and that really pissed her off, and it just escalated, and then I just moved her away, and then she slipped, and that's when she freaking fell, and I'm like, oh shit. I asked her if she was okay. It was like a weird sound. She didn't say anything though, and then I freaking panicked, and then I just, because I didn't try to hurt you. I just wanted you to stop being here in my face yelling at me as I'm trying to back away. I'm trying to de-escalate. I don't want, whatever this is, it's not that serious. I don't know why it's so serious about this money. It's even throughout the divorce, every penny, it's just been so serious about her trying to get every dollar.
Right.
And I'm like, and now I made a mistake, and I sent the check to the wrong address because it didn't know that wasn't a mailing address, and it just went so fast. And then I pushed her, and I didn't push. I was trying to get her away. Just please stop yelling in my face. It's like, just, you know, like if she was at that distance, fine, but she wasn't. She's just here the whole time, and I'm like, please just stop. And so I went to move her away, and she slipped and she hit her head, and I didn't mean for that. That wasn't my freaking fault. I wasn't. And then all I'm thinking is, great, now I've pushed her and she's hurt her head, and I'm done. I'm just, everything I've tried to do, everything I've tried to be is done because I made a mistake. I didn't even lose my cool. I just tried to move you away. I just did. I just hurt myself.
Sorry.
With Stephen's admission of guilt and all his lying, the police had enough evidence to convict him for second-degree murder. However, there was still one piece missing that could prove or nullify Stephen's admission: Trisha's missing body.
Where did you put her? Okay.
I laid her down.
Okay.
I took her out of the car, and I just laid her down.
Was she in water?
No, she was on the ground.
Was there water anywhere nearby?
I don't think so.
We need to do everything that we can to bring her home now. I know what happened. I know, and that's done. It's in the past, and that's what I want. And I told you in the beginning, I want to talk about the future with you. We're done talking about the past. We know what happened in the past. We need to get beyond that. We need to find her. We need to bring her home.
I don't know. I honestly, after all this time, every day I sat home thinking, today they're gonna come knocking on my door. There's no way they're not gonna find her. I don't even know where I left her.
Did you?
I didn't even try to cover her up. I just laid her down.
So
I was hoping beyond belief that she would be okay.
You knew she was peaceful. You knew she was at peace at that time.
If it was really a freak accident, then why wouldn't Stephen just come clean? Why hide the location of her body? But before the detectives could ask that question, their worst nightmare came true. Stephen asked for his lawyer, bringing the interrogation to an end.
Nick Galante, would you like to speak to him?
Yes, please.
Okay.
With legal counsel by his side, Stephen struck a plea deal: 35 years in prison in exchange for his confession and the location of Trisha's body. But the nightmare was far from over. Immediately after the judge's ruling, a shackled Stephen was loaded into one of the detectives' cruisers to lead them to Trisha's burial site.
5:39. 5:39. Yeah.
This time, there were no tears or cries for help from Stephen. Just a cold stare as he expertly directed the detectives into Hungryland Wildlife and Conservation Area. Arriving at the site, Stephen calmly planted a red flag at the exact spot where Trisha was buried.
When we get there, I need you to put this, place it where she's at, so we have some type of marker. Oh, come on.
A hazmat team was then called to begin the digging process. Hours later, they unearthed something truly horrific. Trisha's body was found dismembered and melted by muriatic acid in a Rubbermaid tub. They opened the container to find only her pelvic area and a portion of her upper torso floating in a liquid mixture. Investigators also recovered Trisha's and Stephen's clothes from the night of the murder, burned to a crisp using the gasoline can Stephen had filled up that night, along with the tools he had used to dismember her body, which had been dumped in the nearby canal. It was later revealed that these tools had been purchased weeks before his trip to Florida. The detectives always knew Stephen was manipulative, but even they couldn't predict such evil. This wasn't a panicked accident. It was the work of a cold-blooded killer who was meticulous and precise in his planning long before arriving in Hobe Sound, Florida. Click the video on screen as I delve further into more cases.